What?
The one thing that we have plenty about here, tire places and liquor stores. We have a lot of those.
That's good stuff.
Because every time everybody sees something that's going in, oh, is this a new tire place or a new liquor
Yeah,
store coming?
absolutely.
Because that's what we've
All
got.
the time.
Hi, everyone. I am Liz Wilcox, the branch manager here at High Prairie, and I just wanted to welcome you all. I'm glad you got to come out here and see our beautiful library. We will be around if you have any questions. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Liz.
Hey, thanks for having us out here.
Yes.
That's great.
It's nice.
With that, we'll open the meeting. It's now 4 or 5 o'clock, and so we'll start off. And first of all, we'll have pledge of allegiance.
Yes.
Is there anyone lead us?
Absolutely.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so any items too late for the agenda?
No, they're not.
All right. Correspondence, presentation.
We don't have any correspondence today, but we do have a couple of presentations.
Okay.
Randy is not here and neither is Kim. So I think we'll have to skip the first one.
All right.
But Abby, if you'd like to go ahead, there you are. You can. That would be lovely. Right there is
Okay.
perfect.
Good evening, afternoon. I'm Abby Simpson, Southeast Region Director. Also, I call it the News Region, or the North Region. But I'm here to introduce you to Tess Warren, our new manager of colleague. Tess has been with the district since 2018, started in security, and then they moved on to the floater. Everybody gets the name of the circular, but they move around the different libraries when we have vacancies or people out. And then Tess became our supervisor in November 2020, in the middle of everything. October. Okay, got that. Okay. And then just recently they voted to manager of Valley. So we're excited to have Tess. We were there last week. I wish we could introduce them, but
Funky.
Okay, any public comments? No, sir. Okay.
Is there anyone here? Nope.
Okay, moving on to business items. Any consent items? We need to take a look at minutes. We had 2 meetings since the last time we met. So first of all, minutes of the July 20th meeting. The copy are on page 2. Anybody have any comments or questions for each of that?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes from the last meeting as presented. Oh, from July, last 2 meetings.
Yeah.
From July 20th and August 10th.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We approve those 2 minutes of those 2 meetings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Thanks, Rena.
Yeah, Mina, okay, thanks, Mina. All right, so it passed. Any unfinished business?
Do we want to go back to Randy?
Yeah.
Since he just
Oh, Randy, would you like to introduce your new hire?
I would.
Okay,
Everyone, this is Kim Hoggett. She is our new controller. She's been with us for about 2 months now. Dumped into the deep end of the pool just about every day.
so you can check off for everyone.
A little bit.
Today was
So, apologize for being late. We were working on payroll, actually. So, worked a little longer than. Yeah.
A lot of people, I'm sure. appreciate that.
Yeah, so anyway,
All right, thanks.
She's been doing a great job. I mean,
appreciate her having.
Please give her a life jacket every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, any new business?
No, there's
All right. Moving on to reports, Friends of Pikes Peak Library District report.
And Rita Jordan shared with me that she would not be able to make it to this meeting.
Okay,
And she said really she didn't have anything to share. There wasn't a written report.
right, it's on page 11, so if anybody has any comments or questions.
I guess not. R2D2 does.
So total sales of about over $11,000, it's a pretty good deal.
I just think that maybe all of us need to dig into our bookshelves and see if we have children's books, because it seems like she's running low on those. So,
Are you looking at me?
well, I have some too. I
You know,
have
he
some
has
that-
little kids too.
Yeah, I have some that I don't get rid of.
Hard to get rid of.
It is.
It is, but
Okay.
sometimes you just have to.
Okay, Lance, financial report, or Pikes Peak Library District Foundation report.
Hi, everyone. Any questions about the report as it was submitted?
You're actually applying for lots of grants. What are their values? That was in the report. Different values. Do you even have a?
The NEH grant was about 350 grand. The Firehouse Subs grant was 20. The Erickson Trust was a smaller grant, about $2,500. And the bus passes, we actually got news on the bus passes for about 500 bus passes.
Oh, awesome.
Which is larger, no, more than that. 750 bus passes, sorry. And typically we've received about 250.
Oh, good. So they run the gamut. Your grants. Okay.
What you don't see here is we were the recipient of an IMLS grant. So that's the Institute of Museum and Library Services.
Mhm.
It's a federal institution, kind of runs parallel with National Endowment for the Arts and National Endowment for the Humanities. So right at the top, you see a National Endowment for the Humanities grant application that we submitted for digital archiving. The IMLS grant was a digital archive grant for about, let me check my notes, 7,000 aerial images of the region. So they're pretty cool. And $114,000 over the course of 2 years is wonderful. And we were excited about $114,000 over the course of 2 years through this federal grant. What is more exciting about this is there's two things. One, this was a Museums for America grant. And so it opens up the entire other side of IMLS house to us, because it's museums and libraries. And so this was the first museum related grant that we've received from IMLS. It went so far as the application when we submitted it was actually outright denied because they said we didn't qualify as a museum. We actually went through the formal appeals process to argue that. And Brett Lovello and his team put together a really compelling argument as to why regional history and genealogy and special collections should be considered a component unit within the library district that serves and functions as a museum. The appeal was granted, and the denial was overturned, and so we moved back into the application pile. There were 587 applications and 199 of them were approved. So it is a highly competitive grant program, and it opens up about $77 million a year to us. And so $114,000, awesome. Randy Kim will cash the checks. But what it really does is it now takes out any questions with IMLS that are special collections, regional history and genealogy operates and can qualify for those museum grants. So kudos to Brett and his team. But when we got the denial, Joanna, our grant writer, and myself and Brett were pretty upset that it was it was outright denied, and so we decided to do the appeal process and prove fruitful for 114,000 reasons. So it's good.
Great job. Nice.
Thank you for fighting that one.
Yes.
Do I understand it correctly that we do not have to go through that appeal process again?
Because,
If we do-
right, because we have now been funded.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty easy for us to say, yeah, we qualify. You gave us $114,000, right? So there's no motorcycles. So,
Although the firehouse subs. thing,
yeah, right there, you know, like. But yeah, and that's the big part of this is that it sets a precedent. Yeah, appreciate it.
And Lance, did you attend they were honoring Miss Shivers at the Ed Center for
I did
something
not.
called Heroes of the
No,
I was wondering.
I was at the concert.
Yeah.
I was not able to make that Sunday event. Actually, speaking of Brett was at the event.
Oh,
Okay, Randy, financial report.
Hi again, everybody. So, sorry this was out so late again. We're getting there. But hopefully you got a chance to look at it. We are tracking along. Every time I put this together, the first thing I see once I get numbers in there is that chart on cash and investments. And it's just tracking along historically where we've been for many years. We are currently at this top 35 million in revenue. And compared to last year, it's almost a 5% increase. And that was roughly what our budget increase was projected to be. Our property tax revenues are just on current are 98.6%. So that's probably going to slow down significantly, and hopefully the specific ownership taxes, which is vehicle taxes that aren't part of our property tax levy and all that stuff that Tabor will continue to finish out the year where we expected it to be. Our expenses are year over year are tracking tracking with the budget and where they should be. Overall, we've expended 56% of our budget and we're 7 months into the year, so that's a good indicator that we're not ahead of spending on that. And that includes any prepaids we've had since the beginning of the year, which is a little heavier in the earlier months of the year, and then we slow down to come to the beginning of the next year. Again, the major categories of just slightly over our average or our percentage for the year is contractual services. Telecommunications is a little bit over that number. Capital outlay, again, that's something that is often, it's a big spend in one period and isn't going to increase. We only budgeted like 200. 63,000 and 208 of that was spent on self-check stations. The total spend on those stations is going to be about $700,000, and we got a grant. I think I mentioned this in previous meetings for about $208,000, which of course we paid for that, and so roughly $485,000 of it will go into our mid-year. And then I went ahead and moved our fund transfers that were approved with our last year's budget. I was a little over $3 million. The largest piece of that going to our capital reserve fund, which is about 5 or 6 different areas of the library, facilities, IT, creative services, and the like. That's where most of that went. The roofs for Penrose and East are pretty much done. I think we're still waiting for a check from the insurance company for depreciation on East, so that'll help cover another piece of that. We've already gotten 400. It was $40,000.
Can I ask you a question going back to your transfers over here?
Yes.
And this is not specific to these transfers, but the buckets that we're putting them in.
Right.
So we have the East Penrose and 21C support funds. Does that account for capital expenditures at each of those libraries, or does the cap reserve still also help fund projects at those three?
Those are, yeah, the individual funds there, I think were originally started for renovation work, and most of that, of course, is finished, but our roofing went in there. Most of Gary's ongoing facility stuff will go through the cap reserve. So we've got stuff that happens in 21C. He doesn't necessarily run it through the 21C.
Okay, thank you.
So it's a quick question. So looking at yours, East Library capital funds. Am I reading this? Yeah, the capital funds for East Library. Am I reading this correctly, that there's 173,000 deficit?
Yeah, mostly because we placed the roof at East, and
That's
it
the check
wasn't planned for.
Right. Is that the check that we're waiting for the insurance company?
Yeah, so that's,
That will balance it
from
out.
what I understand, we're gonna get about 195,000 on that, so
Okay.
that would cover that. And then, of course, because, there's roughly $400,000 there, that wasn't covered, that wasn't budgeted, and so technically would be that $117,000 was put in there to cover other projects that were planned. So we may, depending on where Gary's at in finishing these projects, starting on the timelines and all that, 7 months into the year. Some of these may roll over into next year because we didn't have the thing that Gary done this year. But that's basically being caused by an event that.
Right. Okay. That's-
Penrose, if you look at that one, they've got a roof replacement there. And obviously that one was planned for, so that was part of the $1.2 million that was moved over into that fund. See, both of those roof replacements, Gary's gonna finish ahead of budget on those, so we'll see savings on that. But our expenses are holding after 7 months, and the things that we're consistently seeing higher than normal. We've had consultant work done, the audit. Even though I was able to reallocate operating expenses from other areas, cover the additional cost for the report that the auditors provided for us this year. So that's causing a little bit of a bump in our consultant.
Are there any unusual financial issues that we need to be aware of? We haven't talked about before.
No, I just mentioned we've got the self-check. Richard had brought that in, something that I think in January, and the produce has been approved with that. The balance of what we have left over on that would come out of fund balance, so that's a no, but we just haven't done anything with that.
So there's no surprises.
No.
Right. That's good news.
And then, of course, cash, we're still at about 24 million. I would expect our cash to follow the trends on that graph, so it'll probably bottom out sometime next January at about 12. 12, 13 million. And then we get a huge insert of, February, we always get 12, 13 million.
Anybody have any questions for Randy? We haven't already asked. All right, thanks, Randy. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
Okay, Tammy, public services.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us here in High Prairie. Just to remind all of you, if you are interested, they're going to do the grand opening celebration of the outdoor space next Thursday, the 25th at 11 o'clock. Any questions about the report before I point some things out? I like the picture of the bear.
I was
I
gonna
did
say
too.
something, you took that from me.
That'd be good.
I do. All right.
Yeah,
Next
the
time.
bear was cute.
Not only did Fountain host the bear, but they hosted the Chamber Business After Hours
Yes,
too
that was
in
cool.
July, so that was cool. Penrose and Adult Education, we're excited to report that in July, through our partnership with Springs Rescue Mission, we had our first participant who succeeded in passing all 5 of the certifications in July, so that was pretty exciting. They've had really solid turnout down there, so that's great. And KCH, the Community Exchange Program, where other organizations come in and provide services, including DMV, has started, and they were able to offer assistance to 6 patrons in July, so that was kind of cool. And Summer Adventure passed their goal, over 14,000 registrants, so yay for them, yes. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Nice to see that number go up.
That's a good number.
And it was really nice that you were able to have a summer adventure kind of end of year program in Manitou for the kiddos in that end of town, and then the big one at East, obviously. Yes.
And kids enjoyed that those medals weren't plastic.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They love the medals.
Uh,
Yeah,
That was fun.
yes, lots of compliments on that.
I mean, I know one of mine, she was very happy about that. So.
That's my friend's son, that picture.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. You'll need to show it to them.
Anybody have any questions?
I do have one question. So, picture with Vista Ridge Backpack event, do you know how many people actually attended that?
I have no idea. But I can find
I
out.
mean, I know that we didn't really, we just provided the space to do it, but just curious about that.
That's a great work.
Well, the picture shows thousands waiting in line.
Yeah, so
So I think that's how I put that in or not.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you, Tammy.
thanks.
Okay, sports services. On page 35, anybody have any comments or questions on those reports? Communications facilities, HR, and IT.
So I have a question for you.
She's not here, she left.
Do you know if, where we are with the IT position?
Yes, actually, it was part of my report.
Okay, I'll wait
Yes.
for
Yes,
jump the gun.
I know, just like
All
that,
right.
I need a list of hosts.
All right, no questions on the sports services. How about the interim chief library report?
So talking about the IT department, I want to thank Heather Leslie for taking this interim role and helping the IT department to lead them. I know that it was like, yes, today we talked about their budget, and she actually took it very seriously and analyzed the budget and putting together the IT budget with directors of the IT department. So thank you, Heather, for doing that. And also Michelle Ray and her team, they've been handling a lot of media requests and also communicating and educating our community and making sure that the misinformation that tends to be shared on social media, all of that is taken care of. So thank you, Michelle, for doing that, because you never know these days. It's a lot of surprises. So, and you and your team take care of that and graciously handle such challenges. So, and I know that Randy is extremely happy and fortunate that Kim is here. And when I know Dora had this joke about the life jacket, right? So this is also, she's been very instrumental in implementing our new system, ERP, and we are moving forward with that. There, I believe last time when we had a meeting with the vendor, we had, I believe, 80% of testing done, so maybe it's more today. So it's exciting, and I know that Abby also has played, Abby Simpson, an important role there. When it comes, it's a district effort that everybody has their own role, and everybody has been working extremely hard to make sure that it's implemented. We do have deadlines, and but also our hope is that the budget will be available in that system, and we will use it heavily and utilize every feature that offers to us, so in order to be efficient and also accountable to the community. So again, I want to thank all leadership team members for their work. I was thinking, I thought that it's been about 7 months, and someone told me, no, Taylor, you're wrong. It's been just 4 months, so last 4.5 months. So, but yeah, so and to answer your question, Scott, we held 2 interviews. It was yesterday, and we have 2 more interviews scheduled for next week. And we do have very strong candidates. So I did ask the director of Douglas County to assist us with the process, because he also has an IT background. He worked at PPLD 17 years ago as an IT director. So, and also as a fellow colleague, and he graciously agreed to be there to assist with the process. So we are I'm personally very excited, and I think Heather is more excited about that. But we hope that we'll be able to make a decision soon, but I don't want to give an exact time frame because I don't know. Sometimes it takes time to negotiate and such. But I'm very pleased with the results, so that's very good. And another thing is that we started our strategic plan process like months ago. We had our meetings with the strategic planning committee and have a very draft document. It's exciting because we had a lot of conversations, a lot of I don't know how much information the whole committee analyzed. So, but it's exciting to know that we will have strategic plan, the draft presented to the board of trustees sometime, hopefully soon. It's retreat on the 7th of October, but also it will guide us as a district, and also it will inform our budget when it comes to objectives and tactics and such. So our hope is to have an external document for the community, for them to be able to see what we are doing and what our plans are, and they are the ones who inform that process, and it was not just staff of PPLD that got together and came up with a plan. And also that internal document for us as a working document to have areas identified that who's responsible for what and what is the outcome and what something can be done. Obviously, some of the ideas or plans that we have there, we might delay because, we need to be also wise about the budget and the funds that we have available. So, I think, that's what's going on. And I was joking with Laura today that she, I think, had some free time because I looked at my calendar today and it was just booked, everything. So different meetings and events. So, and try to block the time. I think this time I'm going to take some time off. That's what's going on, and we are also having plans to have some training available for our staff And if they have some of the concerns, we did actually, I did have a meeting with everyone on Friday last week. There were some questions asked, and I hope that some of the LT members and myself, we were able to answer those questions regarding the board vote that occurred on Wednesday last week, last week or before, yeah. So that's what's going on. So do you have any questions?
Oh, thank you.
And I wanted to mention also Panorama Park. That the grand opening is happening on Saturday. And I want to thank Abby Simpson from PPLD and her team. They have done so much for that project to be successful. So, and again, it's this coming Saturday. That will be a grand opening. And I don't know, Abby, if you want to maybe just refresh her, remind what we've done for the project as a district and your staff.
I was just there today too, we were getting to but we worked with Southern Parks to do a mural with the community so that we kind of saw, they were part of the planning for the park, that there's a visual that they saw themselves in the park when they were there. And I was there today, it's an amazing mural. But they did 7,000 tiles for about a year and a half. And so there, one installation's done. Second one will be after the grand opening because they had to put the concrete. We wanted to do the tiles under the mud. I don't know why. So that'll happen after the fact. But the first one is up and it's amazing. And the park is beautiful. So if you can make it there on Saturday from 10 to 3, early if you want a hot dog. You know, only 1,000 of us.
Oh, you see the here.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's the best part.
There's a, that's a really good photo. So it's prettier in person. It's shorter in person, but I'm also 6 foot tall, so I was like, what? But I believe they're doing remarks at 10:15. And so
We're gonna start at 10, depending on how it goes. Yeah,
so if you
but 10:15 is 10:10 is when it's technically supposed to start.
don't recommend parking in the parking lot, because yeah. But the Peak Vista lot is across the street, across Benton, and it's this tons of stuff.
You can't park in the parking lot anyway, vendors will be there.
Oh, I was playing something about Peak Vista. I'm like,
No.
so I park over there just to respect the neighborhood as well. I mean, a lot of us coming into a highly residential area. It's gonna rain, so we're really
Thank you for.
But it was, I was a cheerleader, the staff, Jenny Premier and Jordan, which were parts. Did all the heavy lifting, and so I'm just grateful that we were able to.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just, so the space at Sand Creek was one of the primary areas where a lot of these tiles were made. So that partnership and just the availability and accessibility for the community to be able to go in and make these tiles, like each one of these tiles is made by somebody that has been connected to this park. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Okay, moving to board reports, governance committee report.
We met and I think we were supposed to review our bylaws and turn them into the attorney like in March. We're still reviewing the bylaws and we haven't turned them in, but we are looking to clarify language around the application process for reappointments, etc. And we're clarifying also the language on virtual meetings because it seemed kind of strange. And so that's where we're at right now with the bylaws. I think that's about all we discussed. We did discuss the application process for the positions that are going to be coming open, and those have been taken care of. Everybody, thank you for turning in your competency report so we can review that and maybe summarize what we need on our board. And that's where we're at. I do want to make one comment that I didn't make, and I thank Gary for his foresight in thinking about what we're going to do about grass in our libraries. And I think that's awesome, especially when I watched the report this morning about, is it not Lake Mead, where it is just, I mean, people are walking in places that were full of water a couple of years ago, and we've got to be really good stewards of what the water we have. So thank you for getting ahead of the game.
Thanks for that. Okay, Internal Affairs Committee.
We did not meet. We didn't do anything, not meeting.
All right, Debbie. Public Affairs Committee report.
We initially did not meet, and then we decided to have a special meeting. We all know the result of that, so.
Trustee update. Anybody have anything want to share with us about different libraries or some staff or whatever?
I had the opportunity to participate in one of the community strategic planning sessions, and that was just really wonderful. Kudos to everybody that was involved in planning that and making sure that it ran the way it did. I wasn't sure what to expect, and you know, there was so much energy and people were thoughtful and excited, and it was just a really great experience. So thanks,
I
everybody. that
thought it
did
was
that.
great. They had people there that we don't normally associate with working library, but they volunteered their time and effort, and good to get that extra energy. And I agree with that. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
That's good.
The feedback that I got for that from people that attended that was like not usual suspects.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's very good.
And they had great ideas.
did.
They really did. Great ideas. And I do have to thank Anthony, and I can't say Siracusa. He did a wonderful job when we were working on the strategic plan, the draft that we have now. He led us through some muddy waters sometimes, and we got out of that. And I mean, it was really, did an awesome job. I can't hardly wait to see the finished document because it will lead us for a few years anyway.
I had a county commissioner at my table. So I was different perspective, you know, and they were interested and excited about working on what's going on. Okay, let's run along. Board President's report. Okay, I think we've had an interesting this last month. It's been very interesting since we started. We started off with an intent to be part of the ballot process in November. We changed our mind earlier this month. And just a lot of things going on. And I tell you what, if it wasn't for the fact that all of you are keenly aware of what's going on in our community, the impact that these kind of things might have on our patrons. And I appreciate your involvement. And I realize that it may not be exactly what we think we really need ultimately, but it's something that we have to make a decision on. And we did. So there's a lot of people who responded to that decision. And I think, I don't know what we've done with the folks who asked or had opinions or whatnot, how many respondents actually require some type of response.
Since the meeting last Wednesday, the Board of Trustees email has not gotten any messages directly.
Okay.
We did receive several messages through responding to the newsletter that was distributed. And those were the ones that I put on the spreadsheet that I shared with all of you. I have not sent responses to them. I know I put kind of a thanks for sharing your thoughts kind of response on the spreadsheet, but I think some of them warrant more of a response. And so I'll be working with communications. Michelle has already provided a lot of great content to respond to some of the concerns people have raised. So any of the blanks that need to be filled in, I'll work with her to make sure we've got that language down, and then I'll update that spreadsheet so you see what was actually provided as a response.
And there were certain comments that we received that were very vague. Some of them were accusatory in some areas, but not specific. So in those cases, I do prefer to call those individuals and also ask them what their exact concerns are. And then also provide for them the venue while they can address that. So we like they can follow the process. So there are some of the comments that just like, that's what you are doing. but there are no specifics. So it's just like, okay, but what do you mean exactly? And what are your specific concerns? So there's some of that as well that I received, that there are no specifics, but they want to know certain, our process, how we make decisions when we select materials, and why do we do certain things the way we do. So,
Well, I think there was an article in the Gazette on Monday talking about our decision, and I think it really did go our discussion.
Again.
And it quoted my last name, and anyway, so I think the community got the word, and probably what we need to say. And so I appreciate that. I also appreciate the work, the hard work that the IT, that the staff does, your leadership team. They're actively engaged in a lot of different things. And I was trying to arrange for an opportunity for the library to be represented at Mount Carmel Veteran Service Center activity on the 2nd of September, it's on a Friday. It's for veterans basically and their families, but it's an opportunity for us to represent libraries. A lot of libraries things going on here, and some people may or may not even be aware of what we have that on. Maybe an opportunity to provide library clubs. You know, I think the neatest thing going on is the fact that we can give a kid a library club. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. But gets them connected to the library at a young age, and once they start, it changes a lot of things in their lives, I think. So anyway, I found out there's a lot of people involved in getting this thing happening, making it happen. So talking with Tammy, you know, it's more than one. It's probably a dozen people involved. Different things go working, whatever, but they're going to be participating, and it'll be a good thing to be on Saturday, or sorry, Friday, the 2nd of September. It's up across from the Mount Carmel Veteran Service Center on Communication Drive. It's off 8th Street, and it'll last for about 3 or 4 hours. And they're giving things away to include food things to veteran families and whatnot. Plus, there are other vendors, not vendors, but resources will be there to provide things and help families answer questions. So I really appreciate the participation there.
And that was really Lisa Ward and Mobile Library Services and her team that made that happen. I just asked.
You got the ball rolling. Yeah. Okay, so anybody else have anything to share before we close up here? Well, this is one of our shorter meetings. I'm sorry, but that's 3 or 4 more hours.
Took us longer to drive up here.
That's the idea. Yeah, hotel, so I didn't have to do it.
Scott is going to tell us, yes, ma'am.
So I drive this all the time.
Every day,
So
right?
does Eric. So I mean, it's every month.
Every
we drive
month.
Twice a month. So.
Yeah. It was not bad. I give you a hard.
Yeah, but I don't go to like.
Okay, 5:40, 5:43. Thank you for attending. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You were there. I saw your name.
Did you actually go?
No, I was like, why are there no cards?
Oh.
I've
kidding me.
been on a Zoom since 3 o'clock. So I just in my head, I was like, put it on there. So I did.